What was a moment in your life that felt like a horror movie scene? I was exploring an abandoned mental asylum and then got the scare of my life when a scary-looking person inside one of the rooms was just staring at me without moving. Turns out some joker had left a cardboard cutout there. That is honestly really funny to hear, but shit my pants scary to see probably. Went into a real deep woods hike for only the second time in my life. My GPS broke and had to rely on my compass. Got turned around a few times because I couldn't remember the direction I came from, and it was getting dark. Lost the trail way, but the woods are weirdly silent in the dark and alone. It was around 2 a.m. by the time I found the trailhead. Funny enough, this is what caused me to ask this question. I was alone on a hike late night, got lost and couldn't find my cousin, and I heard rustling noises, felt like I was being watched and gonna be a statistic soon, booked it and found the trailhead and cousin soon after. Waking up from a car wreck after some asshole merged into me on the highway while drunk, and realizing the woman I loved was dead in the seat next to me. I am sorry for your loss. I am a baby, in a car seat in between cousins in backseat. Dad is driving. This is in the 80s and it is my aunt's insistence that I am in this seat even though I am like 5. A sleeping semi-driver is coming over into our lane and there is a cliff on other side. Basically my dad did some amazing driving but semi blew us up. I am uninjured sitting in the seat swinging my legs while everyone is unconscious. They all wake groaning. Dad doesn't wake up. Long story short, just minor scrapes and Dad has broken leg. But the crunch of metal and those few seconds per minute of being the only alive person was quite fear-inducing. You scared me at Dad doesn't wake up. God, I'm glad y'all are okay. When I was about 12, my parents went out for dinner leaving me home alone. We lived out in the country, on a private road with only 3 other houses, surrounded by cow fields and wooded areas. I went into the kitchen and glanced out the window towards the trees, and there in the fading light I could see a person walking slowly through the woods. They were wearing all black, moving slowly and appeared to pause behind trees. My heart started pounding so hard in my ears I couldn't hear anything else and I was weak and shaky from fear. I froze and just watched them. Would they come to the house? Where were they going? This was before cell phones, but I suddenly remembered my mom had left the number of the restaurant by the living room phone. Slowly, I made my way towards the living room, trying to watch this stranger in the woods. Just as I entered the living room, all the lights in the entire house went out. By this time it was nearly dark outside. I started openly sobbing and in the dark I heard a weird boom-like noise. That was it. I ran to my parents' room, hid under their bed and sobbed. That's where my mom found me hours later, it felt like. Well, turns out the stranger in the woods was a stupid cow that had busted through a fence. The lights going out was from an accident a few miles away, hit the power line, and the boom was the pilot light in the gas stove. Man, I have never been that scared in my life though. The coincidence is uncanny though. My friend and I got lost late on one foggy night in the Italian countryside. There were rats all over and every once in a while we heard someone scream. I've never been more sure I was about to get murdered than I was that night. Someone scream, there were houses or something nearby, right? Right? Edit. Because somehow I imagined some paranormal sh*t and now I'm scared. A naked man who was covered in blood chased me across a park at 2 in the morning. I was totally alone. He just wanted money for a bus, and luckily nothing bad happened, but I thought I was going to die. I have so many questions for that guy, most of which I think I would be too afraid to ask. 2 days after my now boyfriend told me he liked me, he fell from a zip line and broke his back. Almost died. 6 months later he got into a car wreck from a drunk driver, almost died. 6 months after that, he passed out and had to have emergency brain surgery, again, almost died. I now have severe anxiety, separation anxiety, and PTSD. That whole year was a fucking nightmare. Edit. We're both okay now, the brain injury was almost a year ago. But TBIs take a while to heal, so he still has side effects. Thankfully our relationship is still strong, he's physically getting better and I'm healing emotionally too. Lucky for him, the trauma of the injuries has caused him to forget the majority of the pain and memories of those incidents. When I was young I was walking through a pine forest. I swear I kept hearing a chainsaw in the background. The sound got closer and closer, then one moment I turned around and a big-ass dude with a chainsaw was right behind me. Turns out I was at a Christmas tree lot and he was following me to cut the tree I wanted as a Christmas tree. Seems kind of odd for him to just have it going though, lol. Seeing my grandson bolt toward a busy street and knowing I could never reach him in time. Luckily my son-in-law grabbed him about 6 inches away from a big red pickup. That's a good son-in-law. My 18th birthday was a horror movie. As an explanation, my biological father sexually assaulted me when I was 6 to 7. He was arrested and I moved with my older brother and mother. During court he walked in with a Bible. He was told that he could not contact me or my brother at any time until my brother or I turned 18. He received some amount of jail time and I never heard from him until my brother's 18th birthday. My brother had received a friend request on Facebook from our bio dad because he was out of jail and wanted a second chance. My brother blocked him and I dreaded the thought of my bio dad contacting me on my 18th birthday. On my birthday I sat in front of my phone, waiting for a phone call, friend request, anything that I didn't recognize as a friend's number, or his name on a friend request. 12 hours went by and nothing. I've never felt so much relief in my entire life. It's now 2021 and I haven't gotten a single call or friend request. Thank God that bastard of a cunt is out of your life. Hopefully he'll die in a ditch, with hypothermia. When I saw my grandmother naked. Now nothing scares me anymore. Naked grandfather enters room. Driving home from work at 23, listening to my favorite song. I pull up to a red light, and see this guy on a motorcycle coming up next to me in the other lane. I rolled down my window to compliment his bike when he stops. He doesn't, and runs the red light. He hits a car going at least 55 miles per hour. His motorcycle shatters apart, he goes flying, hits the hood of another car, and lands on the ground and rolls into the curb, no helmet. The car he hit with his motorcycle was totaled. I had to step over his body to talk to the police. He was still alive when they got there. I regret not holding his hand. It was just a normal day, and all of a sudden it felt like the rug was pulled from out beneath me. He was only 18. Edit. The song was Sunny by Boney M, for those curious. That sounds nerve-wracking to have to witness this. An old neighbor was checking out my engine and I thought he told me to start it. I sliced up his hand. It was bloody. Real bloody. I took him to the ER and took care of him and he thought it was funny afterwards. Lol, dudes and cars. My mom is quite the sleep talker, but it's usually pretty short and incoherent when it happens. One night as a teenager, I woke up to her scream yelling the Hail Mary prayer. My bedroom was across the house and upstairs. Difficult to get back to sleep after that one. I visited a friend in a psych hospital, and I was advocating for something she needed. I got into the elevator, and a nurse stuck her head in and whispered, "Don't stop asking questions," and then the doors shut and I never saw her again. For the record, I've been to plenty of psych hospitals with other friends and this is the only one that was remotely a horror movie, the rest were perfectly normal hospitals. Also, this one is closed. So please don't not get medical care you need because I went to a creepy hospital 10 years ago. I love how this nurse is like, "I'm gonna cheer on patient advocacy, good for these people," and you're like, "this is some horror movie shit." Got T-boned by a fully loaded gravel truck in my Pontiac Grand Prix, woke up several hours, 2 surgeries later and 200 miles from my hometown. Had been lucid but not conscious for hours, was in the middle of a sentence when I came to. Felt like time traveling and teleporting, and sometimes I get this uneasy feeling that I left behind a different world than I woke up in. I am sorry to hear that. One of my college friend also got into a nasty wreck, was in coma for almost 3 months, wakes up and the world was in a pandemic. Nothing serious like other Redditors, but I want to participate all the same. I have waking nightmares that constantly terrorize me. Whenever I'm walking upstairs, I constantly see flashes of me falling and hitting my open mouth on the stairs edge and all my teeth flying out like dice, or when I see an infant's soft spot, I have a flash of plunging my index finger into its soft spot and stirring its brain, or when I'm fishing I imagine getting the hook stuck in my eye, and on, and it's always frightening and causes panic attacks. I have OCD and I have this exact same kind of thing. There is a form of OCD that's only obsessive, upsetting thoughts. Watching some parents cook in the ditch while their children screamed half naked on the side of the road in sub-zero weather. Also holding onto someone's arm while a crusher was accidentally engaged, repeatedly yelling _stop the crusher _ as he was slowly sucked in. That shit you only see in movies or hear about through memes. My friend got her arm caught between the rollers in a paper mill. She managed to pull it out before it sucked her in. Some serious damage, but a year later she's alive, with her arm intact. I was maybe 10 years old and part of the choir at my local church. In the evenings the church also acted as an amateur dramatics venue for various performances. This one play involved having a choir, which was handy, as the church knew just how to get hold of some good extras. So I had to play the part for late evening showings, but because the main entrance meant walking past the paying customers, I had to enter via the back door of the church. Through the graveyard. It was like a fucking trope. I got a few meters into the graveyard and my shitty torch packed in. This was the days of rubbish filament bulbs that were delicate and sucked batteries dry fast. I immediately convinced myself something was creeping up behind me in the dark. I started running. Of course I swore I could hear my stalker keeping pace. Panic. Running full tilt through a pitch-black graveyard. I ran at full speed into a low stone table-type grave. Both shins. Then face planted hard into the top of the grave. Adrenaline is amazing. Didn't feel a thing. I got straight back up and ran full circle until I came out the other side of the church and back into the street light. I stood there panting and realizing I needed to go back around to get to the door. I decided fuck it and knocked out and went home instead. The adrenaline wore off on the walk home. Then it hurt.
Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.